Hi, Abraham. I have to say I'm totally floored because I had a premonition that I would be the first one called. And I don't know how it happened.
Well, this group is gathered before you dragged your physical bodies here. And the energy of the group is already understood. So the intensity of what you want to know and the balance of the vibration within you has already lined that up. So when you have a premonition, all it means is you're reading the energy accurately. We're done.
My question is this. I'm wanting to know when to take action. If to take action.
After you get a premonition. Well, we're not kidding. In other words, when you have a premonition of something wanted, that means you're lined right up with it. In other words, that the premonition was that you experienced here or earlier was significant enough that it got your attention, didn't it? And it was exhilarating when the manifestation matched it. But are you following this? This is really an important thing. When you've been living life and you've been building this vortex, so what you want is already amassed. All of the cooperative components are already assembled. So the feeling of inspiration, that feeling of being ready to act about something, that's the feeling that comes when you're close enough to the vortex that the vortex takes you in. Let's be clear about this. Whether it's a premonition or a feeling of inspiration, it is from that vantage point that we would act, and only from that vantage point that we would act. In other words, we would offer all of our action. You talk about getting your ducks in a row. We talk about getting your energy lined up. When you've been hovering on the edge of your vortex, or it's taking you in enough that you're vibrationally up to speed, that's when those inspirational thoughts begin to flow to you. And when those inspirational thoughts begin to flow, that's when to take action. Esther has been noticing something recently, because she and Jerry are together all of the time. And his mind is very fast. He's thinking about a lot of things, and they have so many projects that are in the works, building projects and book projects and recording projects and all kinds of scheduling projects, all kinds of wonderful things that are manifesting and calling for action. And what she's begun to notice is that when one or the other of them will have an idea, when Jerry will say, oh, we need to remember to call so-and-so about such and such, Esther is taken to snatching the phone up and making the call right then, if she can, because she knows that that is an inspired thought that has come to him. In other words, when it comes, that's because everything's lined up. The time is now. When that thought comes, now is the time to act on it. Don't write it on a list and then type it into your computer and then sort it by category and then prioritize it by A, B, C, D. The moment will pass. In other words, you have this vortex that is queuing you up. And when you feel, when just the idea that the thought came, in other words, you like that, don't you? Now stay with us. This is really an important thing. Do you get the idea of this vortex? Must be annoying. That invisible sphere that Abraham keeps pointing at the floor, this vortex of creation, and they call that reality. They call that reality. Ignore all of this walls and ceilings and lights and manifestation, but this is the reality. But it is. It really, really is. This is this vibrational reality, this vibrational gathering where all cooperative components have been gathered. And we tease our physical friends by saying you're often the only uncooperative component to your own hopes and dreams. Because in your pessimism or in your facing reality, you hold yourself as a vibrational difference to what you're asking for. But when an idea occurs to you, you know that feeling, I should do something or I want to do something? That means for sure the vortex took you in. That's why you rendezvoused with the idea. And when that occurs to you, act on it. And until then, let your dominant intention be just to get into the vortex.
It seems like I have a lot of things that come up, and I get thrown out of the vortex. So what I'm wanting is that inspiration to come in. And
But what you're saying, hear the foolishness of what you said.
Okay.
And we really like it
Yeah.
when we get really clear foolishness because it makes a big point. What you said is, or what we said was, the clarity's in the vortex. And you're saying, give me the clarity so I can get in the vortex. And we say, go in the vortex where the clarity is. And you say, no, give me the clarity and then I'll go in the vortex. And we say, well, the clarity's in the vortex. You got to figure out how to get in there. And you say, that's my point. That's my point. Clarity's in there. I want it. I'm out here without it. Can't you bring a little of it out here so I can get in? And we say, oh, there's hopefulness outside the vortex. In other words, hope is lingering on the edge. So if you linger more hopefully, in other words, if you just try to be more optimistic. But here's the thing. Aren't there dozens, if not hundreds, of subjects that you already feel good about? Couldn't you use any of those as your reason to be in the vortex? In other words, you don't have to. The vortex doesn't say, wrestle your problem to the ground, and when it's proper, we'll allow you to drag it into the vortex. That's not how it works at all. The vortex is over there spinning with everything that you have become and everything that you want and all cooperative components gathered. And you just want to stop beating the drum of what's not in the vortex. And when you stop beating the drum of what's not in the vortex will take you in. Really, it's like that. You don't have to try to get into the vortex. You just have to stop doing the stuff you're doing that keeps you out. And the stuff that you're doing that keeps you out is complaining, worrying, watching CNN. The stuff that keeps you out is anything that you're doing when you feel negative emotion. And so meditation is a way in. Basking is a way in. Playing a foolish game. Esther's been playing a foolish game of ABC, where she looks for an in the vortex word that starts with every letter. Appreciation, basking, clarity, delicious, ease, flow, happy. In other words, and the game is quite interesting, actually, because some of the letters are hard. And you just can't focus on something like that and focus upon anything that holds you out of the vortex at the same time. So in you go, and a whiff of inspiration hits you. And then if you're wise enough to know that inspiration means you are now a cooperative component, act on the inspiration that you felt. Now you're in the game, you see. Think about it. You lingered on the edge of the vortex. You didn't mean to be out, but life sucks. So you're out. So you meditate or you play the silly ABC game or whatever, or you visit with someone who's a little more optimistic, or any number of things can bring you to the brink of the vortex, which is hopeful. And then you manage to be there in the absence of resistance just enough that the vortex takes you in. So now the vortex takes you in and you feel an impulse to do something, like raise your hand. You feel an impulse to do something like make a phone call or write something down or draw something. You feel an impulse, you feel an impulse to Google something or to call someone. So you feel the impulse and you recognize it because it's soon after this conversation where we've talked about inspiration and inspired action. So you follow through with action on that inspiration. And because it was inspiration, and it was, we're not kidding you, that phone call is a productive motion forward phone call. And you say, yes. Now, you're not just hoping. Now, you're believing for a moment. Now, we didn't say the vortex will take you in and make a believer out of you. The vortex will take a hoper in and make a hoper a stronger hoper. The vortex will take a hoper in and make a hoper a stronger hoper until the hoper is believing in the vortex, if not believing in himself. Believing in the law of attraction, if not believing in himself. Believing that some things go well, if not believing that all things go well. Believing that things are getting better, if not believing everything will get better. You see what we're getting at? Believing, hoping, believing, hoping, believing, hoping. But you follow enough of those impulses, you get hopeful often enough and follow enough of those impulses so that you're in the vortex more. Before you know it, enough things are moving in your direction that you'll say, hey, I'm back in the groove. I'm in the zone. I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll. I should buy a lottery ticket. Things are going really well. When you get that impulse, buy a lottery ticket. When you get that impulse, in other words, when the impulse comes to change lanes, change lanes. Esther is driving. She can feel something going on, so she slows way down. The monster bus is big. In fact, there are a lot of stoplights in a lot of cities that are really tricky. They've got cameras on them and really short yellow lights. Really, really short yellow lights. It's not easy to bring that bus down to a stop position when they're moving through town. And so there are quite a few photographs being sent to the office of Esther making her way through these stoplights. Jerry say, well, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. So the vortex is giving you these impulses, and when you follow through with an impulse, what begins to happen is you feel the momentum of it. In other words, the momentum of being in the vortex, the momentum of things working for you, causes you to move on subject after subject from hope to belief to expectation, which means you've trained your point of attraction into a different place. And when you train your point of attraction into a different place, you rendezvous, hear this, you rendezvous with the cooperative components that are cooperative components of what you want, instead of the cooperative components that are the cooperative components with what you don't want. It really is that simple. If you feel annoyed a lot, you are a vibrational match. You are a cooperative component to things you don't want.
So that means you really don't take action unless you're in the vortex.
We wouldn't take action unless we felt inspired. We would not motivate ourselves to action. And we would call motivation doing it because I think I should. We would call inspiration doing it because it feels like something I want to do. Mm-hmm. When you're in the vortex, it always feels like it. And it's interesting because you live with each other, and a lot of mothers feel inspired to tell their kids to do stuff. In other words, when you feel the inspiration for a clean house and then you try to motivate somebody to help you, it doesn't work out very well. And so then you get better at your motivation tactics, and then you try to use them on yourself. You try to pump yourself up. And we just want you to know that there's this huge energy that when you work in concert with it, then life is blissful. Esther's favorite alphabet words are ease and flow, ease and flow, ease and flow. When she found those words, ease and flow, she usually spends 2 minutes on ease and flow. Ease and flow. A, B, C, D, ease and flow, ease and flow, ease and flow. It's just such a delicious contemplation, the ease and flow, because the engine is the vortex. The engine is the law of attraction. The engine is the larger source energy part of her. It's already done. It's present tense. Ease and flow. There's nothing that I have to do, but there's plenty that I want to do. In other words, when you do it because you want to do it, you know that you're in the ease and flow energy of the vortex. And when you do it because you have to do it, when you do it because you should do it, when you do it because somebody else wants you to do it, even Jerry and Esther, they really love each other, and they are really involved in the same work. And when Jerry asks Esther to do something, when she's got something else on her mind, she'll do it. But he was better off not to ask. She never says no. She just does things out of the vortex. And really, nobody wants anybody to do anything out of the vortex. You really don't. You don't want to motivate your employees to work hard for you out of the vortex. You want to figure out how to shine a light on the vortex so that they're inspired into the glorious ease and flow creative behavior of their experiences, you see. Yes. And we want you to want the same for yourself. Most of you, we love you very much. Treat yourself like a bad behaving employee. You do.